Hello there, welcome back to the channel. This is Nerd World, and today I'm looking at one of the better side characters, if less well utilized, from Gene Roddenberry's Andromeda. This would be a character portrayed by two different actors, most notably by Michael Ironside, but played by both a man and a woman. The character was, of course, initially Admiral Constanza Stark and later Constantine Stark, otherwise known as the Patriarch, the founder of the Templars movement and the enemy to Nietzscheans everywhere. Before we get started, please like, share, subscribe, comment down below. And with that said, let's get started. Admiral Constanza Stark was the commanding officer of much of the High Guard before the fall. She was also mentor to Captain Dylan Hunt, or at the time when she first met him, Lieutenant Dylan Hunt. She was also the aunt to the future Mrs. Hunt, Sarah, who he would meet when she sent him on a rescue mission to recover her troubled niece, or rather in trouble niece, from a dangerous situation. But, of course, when Captain Hunt and the Andromeda Ascendant became trapped on the event horizon of a black hole, the whole galaxy went to shit, and Admiral Stark watched it happen. Basically, Hunt blinked and missed it, but she had to watch it. But she survived it. Unlike many other High Guard officers, she wasn't killed by the Nietzschean insurrection. She actually survived it and continued a resistance movement against them, founding the Templars. Over time, her views would slowly, through a series of baby steps, become more and more extreme, much like those of the Balance of Judgment when it founded the Restorians. In the early days, her goal was simple: to oppose the Nietzscheans and undermine their imperialist gains. But as time would go on, and with a desire by her followers and possibly her herself to continue the fight against the Nietzscheans, she would have her consciousness transferred into willing volunteers' bodies. The final one of which would be met 300 years later by Captain Hunt, was the body of a man, and Constanza Stark now went by Constantine Stark, but was generally known by his troops as the Patriarch. Now, of course, the Patriarch instantly recognized Captain Hunt and wanted to forge an alliance. By this point, though, Stark had become a very different person, and I don't mean that because they'd body swapped. Psychologically, although they had the memories of the person in Dylan Hunt's own observations, they weren't the same person anymore. And it wasn't just 300 years of personal growth. The constant body swapping, the trauma, centuries of endless war, watching civilization collapse around them had done traumatic and irreversible damage to their mind. The only decent thing they ever did was, although they waged a continuous war against the Nietzscheans, they threw out the more extremist elements of the Templars, but they would spin off into the organization known as the Genites. Now, it was the Genites who were developing a bioweapon that would wipe out all non-genetically engineered humans, which would only leave about 2% of the human race alive. A very small, tiny minority of humans compared to, well, how many we were going to begin with. We're talking tens of billions, if not hundreds of billions of humans would die because of this virus. Stark wanted to capture the virus and tailor it to only affect Nietzscheans, because the Nietzscheans were directly to blame for the fall of the system's commonwealth, not other normal everyday genetically augmented humans such as Captain Hunt himself, who was half genetically augmented as his mother was a heavy grav welder, meaning she'd or her ancestors had undergone genetic augmentation to increase her muscle strength and density. But Stark, although he recognized there was a line in the sand, he didn't see where the line was. The line was back here. He was over here, where the Genites were way down here. Now, he'd thrown the Genites out of the order initially because of their extremist views, but he didn't realize that his views were also still quite extreme. Wiping out every Nietzschean for the crimes that Nietzscheans had committed in the past was not the way to go. The Nietzscheans had made a mistake in rebelling against the Commonwealth. Many Nietzscheans recognized that, but the world they were living in now was simply the world they were living in, and they had to deal with it. Not all Nietzscheans were bad. Captain Hunt knew this. Stark took the opinion that for Nietzscheans every day was a battle, and for them survival of the fittest was all that mattered, and constant competition with one another was vital to their civilization's growth. So therefore, to these people, treachery, betrayal, and viciousness, callousness, selfishness, these were all seen as positive character traits. For a race like that, for him there could be no redemption. Not to mention, he of course blamed them for the destruction of the Commonwealth and every death that had happened ever since. Whether that was true? Debatable. Certainly a great deal of that information was true, but his method of simply wiping them out was not the way to deal with it. Those are the judgments of a madman, which is what he had become after centuries of, as I said, endless war. The Patriarch was, of course, eventually thwarted by Captain Hunt, who initially he tricked into helping him destroy the virus, when in truth he wanted to capture it. He told a half-truth to get Hunt involved, but knew that Hunt would never go along with the plan, or at least didn't trust that he would. He was often stated as being well connected to most of the New Systems Commonwealth's worlds, and was a well-respected character on many planets. Many saw him as a hero, as he'd done a lot of good, but a lot of that good was all in the ultimate endgame of wiping out the Nietzscheans, which was simply, as I said, the line that Captain Hunt was not prepared to cross, and quite rightly so. The character had, as I said, a lot of potential. There was a very interesting character arc, as we'd have been introduced to Constanza Stark in earlier episodes in flashback form, and we then meet the Patriarch, who is the, for lack of a better term, but using parlance from the Andromeda universe, the genetic reincarnation, or the psychological reincarnation of Constanza Stark into Constantine Stark. Not strictly the same person, but not entirely a different one either. So it's an interesting idea to look at what 300 years of trauma and endless war and body swapping could do to a person, if only it had been explored a little bit more in greater detail. And that's my 2 cents on it. And there's that character. Constantine Stark, the Patriarch, the head of the Templars, who were somewhat genocidal military movement that many people thought of as heroes, which did also put Hunt in a difficult position by opposing them. Of course, he put himself in a position where he was opposing people that other people, the people he was trying to win the hearts and minds of, already thought were the good guys. But he didn't compromise on his honor. He was prepared to go so far, but no further. So, with that said, again, I'm going to highly recommend the Andromeda series and checking it out for yourself, because this is a compelling story with a very compelling character. It just would have been explored a little more. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, thank you for watching, and bye-bye.